that was very much a part of my life. I spend my time focused and trying to be in the here and the now. And when you root yourself there, the past is always there too.
The Kadzukian Network presents Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Welcome to Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. I am a human named Kirk Whalum. You are a human, and I'm so glad you're here because you are my guest. And wherever you are, however you got here, I'm just so glad you're here. And I'm hoping that you'll come back here. Maybe what you hear on this particular show will convince you that this is somewhere you need to hang out. Because, man, do you and I have a special guest today. The great Robyn Crawford. And if you don't know that name, you're going to know it because there's a book that she's written called A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston. And that should tell you all that you need to know. It's amazing. Check out hanging out with us. If just in case you didn't know that there's lots of great podcasts on this network, it's called the Kadzukian Network. That word kudzu, you know, that's a plant and it grows all over everything. Kadzukian Network, lots of great podcasts. If you need to check me out, you can always hit me at Humans Being with Kirk on Instagram and at Humans Being with Kirk Whalum on Facebook. See you in a minute. Oh my goodness.
Sports.
1968 Olympian Dr. John Carlos.
Oh man, it's an honor. They need to pick up their radio and tune you guys in.
There you go.
It's R&R on Sports.
Our little segment here on Humans Being with Kirk Whalum called That's a Word is really special. I get to share just a thought or two about a word or two. And in this case, the word, we mentioned it in the interview we did with Robyn Crawford, and the word is kiss. So the fact is that a kiss is a powerful thing. And you know, my son Kyle and I, when we see each other, we kiss each other on the lips. When I lived in Paris, one of the things I noticed when you make friends and your friends, you see them, men, women, doesn't matter, you kiss them. You know, they call it the bisou, right? They're short for, they say bees, like they bisou. And sometimes there are four of them, you know, but the kiss is a powerful thing, and it shows it's a proximity, it's affection, it's a lot of things, right? But also, as I mentioned, with Robyn, that Jesus was betrayed with a kiss. Like Judas rolled up in there and kissed him. Basically, he said the one I kissed, that's the one you're going to take and nail him up on the cross. So I mean, how powerful is that? But I do just want to mention that, you know, Robyn Crawford is a person who, when I got to know her, I have to be perfectly honest and say I would look forward to seeing her because of her kiss. And you're going to say, man, that's kind of that ain't cool, right? You were married. It's not that. It's just that there was a warmth, a chaleur, as we say in French. There was a warmth. There was an affirmation. A broad, big kind of, you can just go right on and be who you are. You're going to be fine. All that stuff was wrapped up. It was no words. It was just a kiss. And I mean, her eyes, or something about just the way she would look at you, like, I see you. And that kiss just brought it all together. And there's something I remember about being on the road with Robyn Crawford, of course, the great Whitney Houston, for 8 years almost. The kiss. Think about it, man, there's so much you can do for someone, a loved one. How about someone that you love, but maybe you're distant? You know what? Find them and give them a kiss.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Riffin' on jazz.
Mr. Chuck.
Yes, sir. Here we
doing,
are.
man?
Oh, man, I'm ready to get some history
Back
going
again.
on.
We got it. We got it
This
for
is
you.
it.
We've got it for you. Today we're doing 8 eras of jazz.
Yes.
Riffin' on jazz on the Kazukian Network. Kazukian!
Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy. No, not ladies and gentlemen, lady and gentleman. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, you're watching us, you're listening to us, you're in your car, you're cooking something, you're at work, shame on you. But some people can work and have other things going on. I cannot. I have like one track I can operate on. But wherever you are, thank you. You are my special guest. I'm so happy you're on the track today with Humans Being, because I have a special guest. Like, you are my guest, but I have a very special guest. You and I have a very special guest. And her introduction is going to be a little tiny bit longer than normal, okay? Because I've had some wonderful guests. But I need to say this real quick about a kiss. I'm just going to say the word kiss. Okay, you know that kiss is a powerful thing. And, sometimes not in a good way. Like, for instance, Jesus was betrayed with a kiss. Right. So kiss is something else. But I want to mention the fact that when I met this lady and got to know her, whenever she was around, whenever we congregated in whatever city, country, whatever that was, I'm going to go ahead and be honest and say I was looking forward to a kiss from her. And here's why. There's a genuine, authentic, spiritual power that a person can transmit in a kiss. In other words, without doing anything, without saying anything, just a hug and a kiss. And that's precisely what Robyn Crawford used to do for me. And I have not had that hug and kiss in too long. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh off the release of her incredible book, Song for You, please welcome our guest, Robyn Crawford.
Kirk, thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful, beyond my wildest dreams that I'd be sitting here talking with you and sharing with those who follow you on Humans Being. So I am grateful to be here on this planet with you at this moment.
Yes.
So let's do the here and now.
You know what I mean? 2022. And, people, well, no, I can get so-and-so to to be on the show. I can get so-and-so. But I'm like, let me call my friend. I don't know if, she'll even pick up the phone. It's been so long, but she did. And goodness gracious, I guess I like to start, rather than going back and starting at the beginning, which is what you cover in this book, from the very beginning, a song for you. But I just want to start in the right now and say that Robyn Crawford, you are, one of the most respected, knowledgeable people in this industry. I'm gonna say in this industry. You're doing lots of other stuff too right now, but in the music,
I miss it.
You miss the entertainment industry.
I miss the interacting with people all over the world, and that was my experience. People talk about, they'll say to me, you traveled with Whitney, and actually I started traveling playing basketball. but we were traveling just the States. And at the time, our team was called the New Jersey Big Heads, which were an ensemble of the best players in this state. And so we traveled around, but Whitney took me beyond, you know. So I miss that, you know, that bag just moving about. But hopefully I'll be able to get back in there somewhere. I do it with my family a little bit. We go on big trips every now and then. But it's been 3 years since we really packed our bags to go somewhere. So
Right.
I miss the artists, you know, working with them and making stuff happen. So yeah, maybe.
Right. Right. Yeah. But be it noted that your work in the form of this first book is traveling around the world on your
Mm-hmm.
behalf. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So you can follow that up,
Yeah,
at some point going out there. But
no
man,
doubt.
but let's stop right here on family, and just if you would just talk a little bit about your family. I mean, I have this one picture that's frozen in time with you with the kids, you and your beautiful wife with the kids, where
Mm-hmm.
they were, I guess, probably 7 or 8 or 7, 8, 9, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And that was the most, I mean, just beautiful moment. But now they are 13.
They are 13. They are their own persons. Yeah, I mean, they just do their own thing. And I do more listening than I do talking. They've made it quite clear they don't want to hear stories much. They just want my undivided attention. So I call it school, youth school. I'm in school every day with
Yep.
a 13-year-old girl and boy. So I'm on both sides of the net.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be ready. They help me stay, you know, working on myself constantly every
Yeah.
day. Just trying to just be there, you know.
That's such a beautiful and important few sentences you just gave there, and I
Mhm.
I got there the hard way, Robin. When my kids grew up, 2 boys, 2 girls, all grown now. Youngest
Mhm.
34, oldest 43. When the grandkids came, and then I found myself having to listen more, and not just to the grandkids, but to my grown kids. Like listening,
Mhm.
because I was so used to laying it down. Like doing my responsibility as a parent, and especially as a minister, really trying to make sure I was pushing them along the right path, right? And so
Mhm.
then something happened, and like, boop, like, oh yeah, that yeah, be
No,
quiet.
totally. You know, I I grew up with a single mom and two siblings, an older brother, and you know, with a single mom back then, we were part of making everything happen every day. You know, my mother worked during the day, so she couldn't be home to start cooking the meals or cleaning up. So we were doing that. And it made us really feel good. Like when she came home, we may have changed the furniture around and prepared some. My brother was the cook, I got to be honest. He prepared a meal and we had everything ready, and my mom came home with a smile. Well, my children were adopted as newborns, and they, even though we are their parents, there are things about them that are quite different. And we made sure we told them their story very young, reading books to them probably when they were 2 about adoption, about their birth father and birth mother, so they would be aware of their story and not be curious and have to sneak around for it.
Yep.
So with them now, I find myself really they'll say, that's that's how it was then. That's not what it is now. And I had to really listen and hear what they were saying. It's different that I had a single mom, I was more involved. They're not that involved, and I have to push them along differently on chores and things like that. but it's quite a learning experience. And, we just hope and pray that the sky is the limit for them. And we raise them to be compassionate listeners and just really be who they are and be confident in that. So, and that's the best we could do on that.
It is such a privilege, to do that. And, it's interesting. You speak about this blended family, people, again, especially Christians, they act like that's something new, like, or something different, okay, I think, let me remember. Yeah, Jesus was, his family was kind of jacked up. People they're like, oh, so the Holy Spirit got you pregnant. Okay. And so all types of things like that we have kind of bleached out. But man, the power of love to overcome any of that is so incredible. And you and your wife are so wise to get that, cross that bridge now. I know you don't feel wise, but I never felt wise as a parent. But trust me, by comparison, what you just described is amazing. I want to, just quickly mention again for people who are listening, and eventually they'll be able to see this as well. People hear the name Robyn Crawford, like, that sounds familiar. And yes, so she was that lady, and is that lady who the Whitney Houston glory years, the golden years of Bodyguard, and that. Go ahead.
From the, I always say, from the ground floor up, like when it was all just a dream, and trying to figure out the journey and the path that had all the experience. Yeah, had all the one foot in front of the other. That's what it is. Don't stop. Just keep going. Try to prepare yourself the best way that you can, and have each other's back. And I walked that. I walked that path, and
landmines and all.
Yeah, I know what it was like professionally and personally. When you're on both sides of that, you get to feel it and see it. And Whitney was, I don't like to speak of her in was. I just can't speak of her in, she never liked to be talked about in the third person. I never forget. People would be talking, they would say, and then we're going to do this, and then she, or, this is how, and she was like, I'm sitting right here. I'm sitting here. Don't talk about me in a third person.
But let me pause right there just to say, Robyn, that for instance, one of my last guest was the great Nina Freelon, who is one of the greatest jazz singers ever, and her husband of 40 years, who was famous, speaking of was, the architect, lead architect for the National Museum of African American History in DC. That was a guy, right? Phil Freelon. But she talks about Phil in the now, though he's been gone now for several years. And so your point about, I mean, you don't have to even explain that. Like, no, you don't have to talk about Whitney was.
Because it feels, that was very much a part of my life. I spend my time focused and trying to be in the here and the now. And when you root yourself there, the past is always there too, and the future, I don't go too far. I used to really plan and think I got to do this and this, and I found myself missing the moments that were where I was. I just wasn't there. And that took years for me to understand. But loss is something, especially loved ones, and between my mother, my brother, and my best friend, that I talk to them all the time,
Yep.
all the time, because when I meditate in the morning, all the thoughts and that I have in my mind, I just let them pass. I let them float around, and I'm aware of them. So there's so much going on in Whitney's name, and people writing, people talking about me. They just don't know.
They don't
They
know.
really don't know.
Well, now let me say that the ones who don't know and would like to know, this book is a way for you to know. And give the full title, because the subtitle is beautiful too.
Okay. The name of my memoir is whoa, that's so funny.
Right,
A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston.
Right. The reason I say it like that is because, I played for a group of elementary students not long ago, and the teachers were so sweet. The principal introduced, ladies and gentlemen, Grammy Award winning, blah blah. He played with the great Whitney Houston, and they were all like going, I don't know what a Grammy is and who is Whitney Houston. So I mean, I think it's important, the knowledge and sort of instruction aspect of this is really important. So thank you for going back there. But I need to divert just a second to go back to what you said about your mother and your brother. So now, what you share with us in this book, the riches of your beginnings and your upbringing and your life with your mom and your brother, it just washed over me. It was just so powerful. I mean, goodness, just share a little bit about that.
Well, I had a life too. And my mom and father divorced they separated when I was probably eight. And it took them some years to finalize their divorce. But I really only spent time with being raised by my mother. And so my family was my mother, my brother, and my sister. And in the early 90s, I found out my brother was ill, who lived in Goldsboro, North Carolina. He was in the Air Force there. And I drove to Goldsboro to bring him home. But my brother never talked about. He was quiet. He was just a quiet kind of guy. And you know what, Kirk? He played tenor sax. He played clarinet.
I did not know that.
And he played cello. And he read music for all of those, which now I know that's really. He was really
incredible.
Gifted. He taught himself. He was in a jazz band called the Blue Jackets, and he wrote a script. So he was way before me getting into the arts at the level that I was. And he just really blew me away after I got to know him better by talking to people in Goldsboro, North Carolina, who got to know him better than me.
Yeah.
And so that sealed that bookend for my relationship with my brother. But my mother she was my first best friend, and I would say my therapist, because she had her master's in counseling and her bachelor in psychology. So my mother knew how to really get into our heads. And I was one who was the split between my father and my mother. Even though my father wasn't around, I was very athletic, which is what he was. And I ran everywhere. So losing my mom and my brother to AIDS, my brother passed in 93 and my mother in 96. So losing them I really didn't deal with it then. I was still working. My mother encouraged me to just do my thing. That was what she wanted me to do. She was very proud. She would say that, she was proud that I opened the doors to my home when she was ill, which I thought was odd. That's
Wow.
what a child should do
Yeah.
for their parents, but I had no idea that that meant. So that was the time.
Yeah.
I guess children moved on or behaved differently. But
Mhm.
for my mother, she wanted me to know that, you know, do your thing, just live
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
get to know Jesus. That's what she told me. Get to know
yeah.
Jesus.
So now, you go there to a place that I would like to go, obviously, but I want to say just how powerful that is, that in the African sense, like how things that are passed down from our ancestors, and an affirmation that was fuel for you as you
Mhm.
needed some fuel, because what you were dealing with was, again, I mentioned minefields. Like when I think about your life I'm gonna say as a manager, because that's really kind of, you
That
eventually managed other
that
artists,
was my role, without the
right?
title, because
Without the
Whitney
title,
believes she managed herself. That's what she used
right?
to tell. I managed myself.
Right. Well, without the title and without, pardon me, the dough, because the folks who were making the dough were not were not present when they needed to be. But so,
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to go there. But
No, but yes. Go.
so were you were the point person for arguably the biggest career besides Michael Jackson so
Mhm.
far in the music industry. I'm sitting here talking to you, but
I was the point person. That's right. I'm still the point person.
that's insane. I guess, man, I got so much I want to talk to you about. But so before we break for this next segment, at least just speak a little bit about that, just a little bit more about that transition between Robyn in this nest. Even though you weren't living in the same home, you had this nest around you of your mom and your brother and those
Mhm.
folks. But then you found yourself alone, in a sense, dealing with other people's crazy.
Mhm.
And I'm not just talking about Whitney. I mean, just you
Mhm.
were there in the minefields of crazy,
Mhm.
but without that system that God had put in place for you. How are you
Well,
still here?
by the grace, by
By
grace.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. 100. My mother was very involved. I would talk to her a lot about things that were happening, how to handle it. Um, and my mother would tell me how she saw me and how she felt it was best that I should operate. But, I tell you, people, when they think of my name and associating with Whitney, it's always about the rumor of what our relationship was about, and they never look at the business side of things, what it took
Mm,
to prepare for the recording sessions, for the interviews, for the live productions, for the photo shoots, for the films leading up to the films, for the traveling. I mean, all that execution. I mean, we were focused. We were
yeah.
laser focused. We had to be. That's why she was able to build what we have, how we remember her, what we have access to at the click of a button. That took work and lots
Woo.
of work. Yeah, there was some stumbling and there were errors and mistakes, and some you could not change, you could not fix. They were what they were. But I tell you, if I was on Jeopardy and a couple of other folks were on Jeopardy too,
Yeah.
I'd be hitting that buzzer. They wouldn't have any money because I'd answer them all because I was there.
Woo. Woo. Okay, so this crazy thing called the clock says that I have to break, and then we have another segment that I get to do with the great Robyn Crawford. If you're just tuning in, sit, you get comfortable.
I'm honored to be here with you.
We will be right back. You're tuned to Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. Our special guest is Robyn Crawford. Don't go anywhere.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Hey, I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels.
And I'm your co-host, Williams Brack. And Grindset takes a deep dive into the mentality of the entrepreneur in Memphis.
This show unpacks the entrepreneurial journey. What's your Grindset?
So make sure to check us out on your favorite podcast provider.
Grindset on the Kadzukian Network.
My very special guest, our special guest, because you are listening, you're chilling, you're hanging with us, and we're very happy to acknowledge you, and that you stopped by, even if you just stumbled upon this podcast. Thank you. But we have an extra special guest, and her name is Robyn Crawford. And for those of you who, if you were under a rock and you didn't know about a career called Whitney Houston, a satellite, some kind of planet star that came through here from another universe and then left. Well, when that happened, there was a lady named Robyn Crawford who was by her side, and she was making it happen. And I was quoted in an article, Robyn, recently. Of course, hyperbole, right? They take something, they twist it. But the guy set this thing up in the question in such a way where he was able to nail me, but it was partly true. He said, Kirk Whalum says, and he's the guy who played saxophone on I Will Always Love You, blah, blah, blah. He said that if Robyn Crawford and Whitney had stayed together, that as a couple, and that if Robyn Crawford had remained in and really been affirmed in her role as the person keeping it together, that A, Whitney's career would have just shot through the roof even more, and B, she would still be here. So that's in essence what he was saying. I have to agree with that, but again, I wasn't trying to say, oh, Whitney would still be here for her. That's not fair. But
I knew that.
Just go ahead and comment on that.
They have their narrative, they have their point that they're trying to make, and I don't know why that's still important, but I tell you that rumor wears track shoes. It does.
So Nikes.
Yeah.
So for folks who all right, let's go quickly. We'll go back to me being Bishop.
Yes, Bishop.
For the folks who have heard that, quote unquote, that rumor, Robyn deals with that in this book. And again, the book is called A Song for You.
Mm-hmm.
And My Life with Whitney Houston. And it talks about the fact that there was a time when Whitney and Robyn were romantically involved. And again, I say that with all due respect to Robyn's amazing wife and family now, right? But we're talking about then.
Mm-hmm.
That was back then. And so that happened. And that's not something that people were ready for. And I say people, I'm also talking about her parents and other people who just could not be. And so I just need you to just speak to it. You do it so eloquently in the book, but for folks who haven't read the book yet,
mm-hmm.
you go there.
Well, Kirk, you were around on the tour when her mom traveled with us. There was, Mrs. Houston, that's what I called her. I didn't address her as Sissy,
Right.
It was pretty much Mrs. Houston and, Mr. Houston. I didn't call him John, but that was just at the time the way I was raised. And when we were younger and we're hanging out, Whitney called my mother Mrs. Crawford, not Janet.
Yep.
So, when the energy on the tour, I was working. That's what I was doing. I didn't have I didn't have an attitude with her mom or this one. And Whitney didn't tolerate that. It was respect for everyone. But when I started writing about the physical part of our friendship, not relationship, our friendship, I shared what I had written the way I did because I wanted people to stop turning it this way and that way and the way they wanted it. And I made it very clear that that's not what she wanted. And really, her focus was singing. Her focus was having someone by her side on that path that she knew she was destined, who she could trust, that would respect her and allow her to be 100% who she is and what God has in store for her, and me be comfortable with who I am and what God has in store for me. I always listened to Whitney. We talked about what was coming, what could happen professionally, personally. We talked about, it was almost like we could see it because we were in it. Every step that we took of her career, we knew what was going to come next. We couldn't predict if it was going to go number one or hit singles. That's some other mechanism. But the process, she was up for it, and I was ready. And she made sure I was ready. She's the one that told me, look, Robyn, you be a sponge to Gene Harvey. That was her manager at the start. It was three gentlemen. Steve Gettleman, who was the son of the financier of Tara Productions. If you look on Whitney's early album, the first one, you'll see Tara Productions. That is Steve Gettleman, Gene Harvey, and Seymour Flicks. Gene was the point at that time who had the manager title. He was the only one who had the manager title. After Gene Harvey, Whitney never granted anyone else with that title, but I became the point person where everything ran through. It didn't matter what it was, film, agents, music, Clive Davis, the Arista Records team. Yes, I was the PR, and she was very comfortable with that. And obviously it worked because she soared. So we worked well together because I listened to her. And because I listened, there were things that she didn't have to repeat over and over and over and over again. She knew I had it. That's how you gain the trust. Writing my book, I was somewhat uncomfortable with, the physical side of it, which I felt was important to write it. So people would stop talking about it. They would stop making it like it was the most important thing, which was not the most important thing. That was what happened at that time. But I loved her as a person, and she loved me as a person, and we had a friendship that was physical at that point in her life, and the career and the business part of that, we worked hand in hand. And I don't regret anything. I wish I knew things that I know now. I probably would have made, slightly, maybe not so fast turns around the corner. I may have walked more mindfully. And, but that comes with growth and living life, which I've been blessed to do. And, she knew exactly what she could do with that gift. And I was a strong person, and a lot stronger in ways that she may not have been, or did not want to do, you know?
Your strengths complemented her strengths.
Well, yeah, I can say that because, you know, when you get those calls that, hey, I need you to do this and here's how I want it done. And if you can't do it, then use me, use my name. If you're unable to do it. She was very direct. She was brilliant at it.
Okay, so now I need to stop you and say there was something that she used to say that I share with people all the time. She would say, okay, use my name if it'll help, but it ain't gonna always help. And I cracked up the first time she said it. And I was trying to imagine what is the scenario when the name Whitney Houston would not help. But actually, that is true. You know, as I mentioned, you know, you talking to a group of elementary school kids, that ain't really gonna help you. But, you know, or you're in the jazz world, you know, where I make my living. And, you know, in a certain way, it's like, no, that doesn't really help, you know. But you say, oh, well, I played with Bob James. Oh, okay, well, that helps. You know, but here's the thing, you know, I will only now for the last time mention the relationship aspect for this following reason. That is my own sort of evolution, and that is this. And then we'll talk about me being a bishop. That as a Christian, as a minister, as a student of the Bible, as a follower of Jesus, the perfect and holy and just and, you know, self-giving love, right? Embodied, you know, personified. I, at that point in my evolution, was not prepared to say, oh, well, you know, these two men or these two women are in love and you just need to, you know, or again, are in relationship, whatever. You just need to know that this is who they are. This is who God created them to be. And so fortunately, God let me live long enough until about probably 15, 20 years ago when I got it. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, we're missing the opportunity. Those of us who love Jesus, he would have us to share with them, oh, you're in a relationship. I don't care. Same sex, whatever. Are you willing to love that person with the self-giving love that I have loved you with? Right? So we don't get to go there because we're so busy judging people about their lifestyle. Okay, so I've said that. We can move on.
And that was the way then.
Oh man, I mean, that's the thing, is that I'm just so in awe of the courage of someone like you, Robyn, who says, you know, this is who I am. You know, damn it, you're just gonna have to know that this is who I am. And then once you get over yourself, then we can have a conversation.
Well, about way back when, I was just trying to exist. I really didn't have all the answers. I was learning my role and my craft working with Whitney. And I tried to say in the book that the physical part just happened as the friendship grew and began to like wine, how it just gets better with it was just entangled in that. And that's why we never felt like we were hiding or shameful about it, because we were so much aware of the path that we were on, because we both were on it. And we knew that would be a troublesome thing.
Right.
But Whitney and her seeking of the Lord and reading the Bible and knowing the word like she did, like she knew it, which is one of the reasons why she gravitated to the Winans so much. It was Whitney. Whitney pursued them. They weren't chasing her. We met the Winans brothers. We saw them on television. I remember. I forget what show it was. Maybe it was Oprah. And we ended up running into them somewhere. And then Whitney wanted to go visit Marvin's church. And that's where she met, I believe, BB and Cece. And let me tell you, she drew to them. There was all those live performances. That was her doing it. Even though she was being told, you better stop doing it, she was doing it because that's how she felt. And, you know, those were wonderful years, and she needed to be closer to the Lord because that's where she was in the music business. She wasn't getting that spiritual growth that she wanted. And she wasn't getting that from her own family, I can say, because the one thing that Whitney said she really admired and loved about the Winans family is because it was so many of them and they all were talented, but they all supported each other. That's what she said. And I could see it and understood it. And I tell you, those background vocals that BB has or Cece, the backgrounds that she did for them on The Blood and Better Place. I mean, with Margaret Bell Armstrong, Whitney is on fire. That voice of hers, everybody calls it the voice. If you get a hold of those background tracks, you don't have to play any leads. Just the background tracks and isolate that. You
like this. You just your hands be up.
Yeah, you have an afro.
Now, speaking of backgrounds, speaking of backing, speaking of backing, you know, they don't say backgrounds, but backing vocals. Speaking of that, man, you mentioned to me in our conversation earlier, Olivia McClurkin, and it's paramount to this part of the conversation because like the spiritual identity and path that Whitney was on, man, Olivia, you know, basically I always say to people, you know, she called me Bishop because I was constantly praying for her and praying with her. And so in essence, I tell people we didn't just play for her, we prayed for her. Like we were a unit that was a prayer,
like armor,
you know,
it was armor
for her. Yeah,
it really was. And
Olivia passed away. I'm gonna get you to share just about God. Olivia.
Olivia McClurkin, Donnie McClurkin's sister, the McClurkin singers, that family. I mean, having Olivia on the road, I used to hang out in Olivia's room, and Patty Howard would be there, and Alfie Silas. And there was another woman, because they would switch out between Alfie and I can't remember her name, but Whitney would spend a lot of time. There was one part in her career earlier where she spent a lot of time with her singers. I think this was really before Ricky became the MD, because by that time, Ricky would handle the singers in the band too. And they were on the West Coast, which left Whitney kind of with nothing to do. On the East Coast, which is what she used to do. She was really involved with her singers. And I tell you, Olivia, Whitney on stage, if you go online and you look, when she's introducing the band and introducing the singers, she allows Olivia to take us to church. And she just puts down her mic and just looks at her. And I wrote about the Bodyguard tour because Olivia was on it then. And
so was I.
Yes, you were. And there was a presence of which at that time in Whitney's career, we needed. She needed. You could feel it. And there was no foolishness that could touch her during that time. And her performances were, you could tell that was her safety zone when she was on that stage, and she had all the folks that were spiritually rooted and praying for her. if she knew where to go, there was a certain pep in her step, and the fire that the background singers had, they lit it up under her, which is what she needed at that.
She needed
A singer
and
always needs that. Actually, always needs that.
And the legacy,
she wasn't always getting it.
You know, the legacy of Sissy, of her mom, you know, doing that for so many artists, like being that, you know, that background and backing, you know, presence.
Brilliant at
you know,
it.
one of the things that, you know, the bodyguard, and I gotta rush ahead because I got this other thing I want to do with you. But this, you know, the idea that you know, the bodyguard tour, you know, I try to describe it to people, but it's like, you know, okay, I was praying whenever we would, you know, go out on stage, we circle up and Whitney just basically look at me and
take us home, Bishop.
Yeah, and I mean, because, you know, I was convinced at the very beginning that, you know, she was ready for and open to and very much down with a real prayer. Like, you're gonna go sing "I Want to Dance with Somebody," and you know, and yet there is a power that we have, like, to humble ourselves and to be one and to be on her page and to be supporting her and to have the divine to be there to let us know that what you're doing right now is precisely what I want you to be doing, and I got you. That was what our prayers were about. And boy, how we needed that, because there was all, as you said, Robyn, there's all these other forces that were going on.
They were heavy forces at that time. That energy, the prayers, like Olivia, I spent time with her and she told me about her trials in her personal life. And then she said, so nothing can get by me. That's what she would say. and then she talked about the Lord. And I remember I asked her, she played 3 songs for me that are on her last album. And I still have that cassette to this day. And speaking of cassettes, I still have your CD that you signed to Whitney. I think the title of it was To Us or For Us. It's the white
For You.
For You. And you signed it. And those were the personal things that I had in my package. I gave it to her. She played it. She said, hold on to the jacket for me. Hold on to the jacket. So, because she would get rid of the hard plastic. And I still have that jacket. I still have it.
I am convinced, Robyn, that some kind of way in the future that we're going to get to do this again, because I feel like we talk about the book, right? A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston. If you don't have the book, get the book, because I swear I couldn't put it down. I literally couldn't sleep. I'm like, okay,
Kirk,
you got to put this down because you're not going to be able to sleep. So, but get the book. But there's so much more that we need to talk about that we didn't get to in terms of being a spiritual person, following Christ in a context where you're there with your Muslim brother and sister, you're atheist, Buddhist, whatever, you're walking the path together. There's a lot we got to talk about. So promise me that I can call you again.
Oh, please. On speed dial. Put me on speed dial.
Okay, all right.
There is more. And it's not, my book is 336 pages. I'm trying to figure out, should I write another one? But I will wait and see what the Lord says.
Right. So you got, well, I'm not sure what God's going to say, but I'm saying yes. So let me, real quick, I got to do this. Okay. I'm going to play a couple of melodies. I need you to tell me who, at least the artist, if not the name of the song. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Because there's no lyric and no singer, this is not something that just anybody could do. And again, I'm going to play it and I'll move on to the next one. You ready?
Yep. I know it, but I can't pull it. Let's one more time.
But I could see right away that you knew this. You knew this.
I can't. Oh man.
Happy feelings.
Yes, that is. That's
okay, Frankie Beverly.
Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Frankie
Happy
Beverly. Man, the reason I'm doing this is because you mentioned in the book like a lot of music that you guys used to listen to together.
Oh yeah.
While in the formative years. Okay, so here's another one. Speaking of them.
That one I can't. Well, I tell you what. Who's that?
Running away. You need a motivation. That's Frankie Beverly too.
I wouldn't. Well, Joy and Pain. That's all those. That's my Frankie Beverly. And
all right, I started to play that. All right,
Back in Stride again. Oh, that's
Okay. How about that?
You messing me up.
Okay, too. Looks like another love.
No.
TKO.
I can't get that.
Okay, Teddy Pendergrass.
Oh no! Why did you do Hold Me?
Like
Hold Me in your arms.
See, I got your artist, but
Make it last forever. No, I can't. Now I know on Jeopardy, I bet not choose music instrumentals. That's for sure.
Okay, so all right, let's try
one more.
All right. If I tell you the artist, I bet you know the song.
Who's the artist?
People Bryson.
Oh man, well, is it
Feel me. I want to feel the fire.
I wouldn't have got that.
See, your stuff is it's got cobwebs because you are there with the Munchkins. See,
give me a little street life. To Crusaders, okay. I'd get that. Randy Crawford, lead singer of that. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin's. Yeah. No. There you go. Just like a superstar. That's how the man is played. A then masquerade. Just you walk, you talk, you who to think you. I love that song. I'm gonna play that later. Yes. There you go.
It can take you back to a moment in time, which is what Robyn Crawford has done for me today.
I just struck out on 3 tunes, 2 Frankie Beverly and 1 Peabo Bryson.
So you know what? My nightmare is going on Wait, Don't Tell Me. And you know the NPR show. And they're like, okay, so what's the name of this? I'm like, my wife is like, no, he's not right. He's not going to know any of that. Okay. Because the way my mind works, I can remember things for the now, and then I can go back a ways or whatever. But man, if you expect me to know that, I'm just not going to know it. I'll be the one. Well, how many points does Kirk have? None, like a big.
Oh, I got 0 this one. That's for sure.
Man, you gotta hug your baby for me, and man, hug those little ones, and just
every
let
day
them know that. Yeah, Kirk and Ruby are just. We can't wait to meet them, and
I got to come to Memphis. I love Memphis.
Okay, so the National Civil Rights Museum, you've been to that, I think. If not, you need to go again. The Stax Museum of American Soul Music, the Stax Music Catalog, all the Otis Redding, all that stuff. And, this little place called Graceland, where Elvis.
Been there for that one too. Yep. I'd love to.
So,
I love Memphis. Love it, love it, love it.
You're invited back, Robyn, and we just love to have you. I'm gonna take you. Are you vegetarian?
I am a pescatarian.
Okay, so
I eat fish.
I am too. I'm a big fish person. I could eat at breakfast, lunch and dinner, but I have the occasional rib. And so if you're in Memphis, we can have fish, and then you just have one barbecue rib in Memphis just to say you did it, and then we'll just go straight to Pepto-Bismol.
Okay. Okay. I don't mind doing that. If I know that it's raised well, like when we went to Argentina, I ate meat. I had to. You're going to eat pasta the whole time you're there? I don't think so.
No, because they feed those.
Yes.
The cows run free. And the pigs are vegetarian.
That's right. There you go. That's right.
I love you so much.
I love
you. We'll talk soon.
Okay, Bishop.
Blessings to you.
Thank you. Love you.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Hey, I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels.
And I'm your co-host, Williams Brack. And Grindset takes a deep dive into the mentality of the entrepreneur in Memphis.
This show unpacks the entrepreneurial journey. What's your Grindset?
So make sure to check us out on your favorite podcast provider.
Grindset on the Kadzukian Network.
In the interview with Robyn Crawford, you heard me mention the word kiss. And we just also talked about that on our That's a Word. But I want to mention that, and don't be stingy with that affection and that love. Somebody needs it. People need to be touched. They say that most people who end up, on the other side of the sex worker industry, not the workers, but the folks who frequent them, many of them are there because they just need to be touched. It's not so much about the sex. It's just about being touched. And so let me just say, this last song is my offering to you, if that's you today and you haven't had that physical touch in a while. Here's a sonic physical touch.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, recorded at Kadzukian Studios.